Day 14 of Isaiah's nightmare. He couldn't walk straight anymore. The world tilted. His stomach had stopped screaming, it had given up, gone quiet, which terrified him more than the hunger. He found Lincoln Elementary during lunch recess and collapsed against the chain-link fence. Inside, children laughed, ate, played. He watched them like a ghost watching the living. A teacher noticed him. Finally, someone saw him. Hope flickered. You need to leave. You're scaring the students. The hope died. Isaiah tried to stand. His legs buckled. He hit the frozen ground. The teacher walked away, her heels clicking on pavement, each step another nail in his coffin. 10 years old, and he was learning the cruelest lesson: you can die in a crowd, and no one will stop their lunch to notice. But then, she saw him. A black girl with braided hair stood on the other side of the fence, frozen mid-step. Her friends called her name, Victoria, come on. But she didn't move. Couldn't move. Their eyes met. She didn't look scared. She looked sad, the kind of sad that recognizes suffering because it lives down the street from it. The choice. Victoria's friend Jasmine ran over, annoyed. What are you looking at? That boy. Oh, him. He's been there for days. Creepy. He's not creepy, Victoria said quietly, her voice steady with a certainty beyond her 9 years. He's hungry. Not our problem. Victoria turned to her friend, and in that moment, she looked ancient. He's just a kid. Like us. She looked down at her lunchbox. A peanut butter and jelly sandwich. An apple. A juice box. Her whole lunch, the only food until dinner 7 hours away. Her stomach was already growling. She knew if she gave this away, she'd go hungry too. Her grandmother's voice echoed, we always share what we got. Choice. The universe pivots on choice. Victoria grabbed her lunchbox and walked to the fence. Victoria, where are you going? She ignored them. Every step was a rebellion against a world that teaches us to protect our own plates first. The gift. Up close, Isaiah looked even worse. Eyes glassy, unfocused. Lips cracked and bleeding. Clothes torn and stained. He smelled like the streets, trash and rain and desperation. Hi, Victoria said softly, crouching to his eye level. I'm Victoria. You look hungry. Isaiah tried to speak. His throat was too dry. Nothing came out but a whisper of breath. Victoria pushed her lunchbox through the fence, the metal scraping, the sound louder than her heartbeat. Take it. It's okay. Isaiah stared at the lunchbox like it was a hallucination. His hands trembled as he grabbed it. He unwrapped the sandwich and ate it in 4 bites, no chewing, just survival. Tears streamed down his hollow face, cutting tracks through the dirt. Victoria watched him devour everything. The apple. The juice box. Even the crackers she'd been saving. She didn't regret it for a second. When he finished, he looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time in 2 weeks, he remembered he was human. Thank you. His voice was broken glass and gratitude. What's your name? Isaiah. Are you okay, Isaiah? He shook his head, honest. No. Victoria's heart shattered. She was 9 years old, standing at a fence, holding the weight of another child's survival in her small hands. I'll bring you lunch tomorrow too. Isaiah's eyes widened. Hope, dangerous hope. You will? I promise. 22 years later. Isaiah Mitchell woke at 6 a.m. in a penthouse that cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Lake Michigan stretched out below, sunrise painting the water gold. He didn't notice. He never did. The espresso machine hummed, Italian, $7,000. He pressed a button and walked away before the cup filled. His closet held 40 suits, all tailored, all perfect. He grabbed one without looking. The apartment was silent. Always silent. No photos on the walls. No personal touches. Nothing that said someone actually lived here. It looked like a hotel. Felt like a tomb. His phone buzzed. His assistant, board meeting at 9. The Thompson deal closed. $12 million. Isaiah texted back, good. $12 million. He felt nothing. He walked to his home office, unlocked a drawer. Inside, a small glass frame containing a faded red ribbon, half a ribbon, fraying at the edges despite careful preservation. This was the only thing that mattered. He touched the glass gently. 22 years old, the fabric deteriorating. Every morning, the same ritual. Every morning, the same thought. Where is she? The search. 5 years ago, Isaiah had made a decision. He'd built his fortune, CEO of a real estate development company, $47 million net worth, success by every metric. Except the one that mattered. He'd hired 3 private investigators. Spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. Bought properties in South Chicago, 12 buildings, all within 2 miles of Lincoln Elementary School. If Victoria was still in Chicago, she'd be there, helping people. That's who she was. So he'd created reasons to be there. Constantly. Waiting. The last investigator's report haunted him, we've exhausted all leads. Victoria Hayes is too common a name. Family left no forwarding address after 2008. Trail went cold. His business partner, Richard, pulled him aside after every board meeting. Man, you've got to let this go. Maybe she doesn't want to be found. Isaiah's jaw would tighten. Drop it. I'm just saying. I said drop it. But Richard was wrong. This wasn't something you let go. Victoria had given him life when the world wanted him dead. She'd gone hungry, a child, going hungry, to keep him alive. Some debts transcend money. Some promises transcend time. The meeting. Monday. 6:30 p.m. Isaiah sat in his office, staring at a calendar reminder, community meeting tonight, 7 p.m., South Chicago Community Center. He usually sent representatives to these meetings. But something, instinct, fate, desperation, made him type, I'll attend personally. He didn't know why. Just a feeling. The kind you get when the universe is about to tilt. He grabbed his coat. Touched the ribbon in his desk drawer one more time. I'm coming, Victoria. I don't know if you're there, but I'm coming. What Isaiah didn't know. Victoria would be there. And she'd been thinking about him every single day for 22 years too. Isaiah Mitchell pulled his Mercedes into the parking lot of the South Chicago Community Center. The building looked exactly like he remembered, old, chipped paint, flickering lights in the parking lot. But clean. Cared for. Loved. This neighborhood didn't have money for new buildings, but it had something more valuable, people who refused to give up on it. Isaiah straightened his tie in the rearview mirror. His Armani suit, $4,000, felt obscene here. Wrong. Like showing up to a funeral in a tuxedo. But he couldn't not come. The feeling was too strong. 22 years of searching, and tonight felt different. Electric. Like the universe was holding its breath. He walked inside. The room. About 50 people filled the community center. Folding chairs arranged in rows. Families. Elders with canes and wisdom in their eyes. Young activists with fire in their bellies. This was the heart of South Chicago, beaten down but never broken. A woman at the registration table looked up. Mid-40s, kind eyes, tired smile. Name? Isaiah Mitchell. Mitchell and Associates. Her expression shifted. Wariness replaced warmth. The developer. Yes. You're actually here. Disbelief. Yes. Most developers send lawyers. I'm not most developers. She handed him a name tag, skepticism radiating from her. We'll see. Isaiah walked into the main room. Heads turned. Whispers rippled like dominoes. That's him. The millionaire. Probably here to bulldoze everything. Gentrifier. Isaiah found a seat in the back, isolated. The weight of 50 pairs of eyes, judging, suspicious, angry, pressed against him. He deserved it. He was the face of a system that had destroyed neighborhoods like this for profit. They didn't know his story. Didn't know he'd once been the boy outside their fence, starving. They only saw the suit. A woman in her 60s stood at the front, regal, commanding. Welcome. I'm Dorothy Carter, Community Board President. Tonight we discuss the proposed development. She continued, her voice carrying decades of broken promises. Mitchell and Associates wants to build housing and renovate our center. But we've heard promises before. Murmurs of agreement. Bitter agreement. Mr. Mitchell will present his plans. Then we ask questions. She paused, her eyes finding Isaiah. Real questions. A challenge. A warning. Mr. Mitchell. Isaiah stood. Every eye tracked him as he walked to the front. He opened his laptop, architectural renderings, beautiful buildings, green spaces that looked like dreams. But he knew better than to start with pictures. Good evening. I'm Isaiah Mitchell. He paused, meeting eyes around the room. I grew up not far from here. I know what broken promises look like. That got attention. Heads lifted. The whispers stopped. I'm proposing affordable housing, not luxury condos. 60% of units reserved for current residents at current rent rates. Surprised murmurs. People glanced at each other. Too good to be true written on every face. The community center will be fully renovated. New heating. New roof. Expanded services. All funded by my company. He clicked to the next slide. We'll create a job training program. Hire locally. Invest in this neighborhood's people, not just buildings. He closed the laptop, abandoning the script. I know you don't trust me yet. I wouldn't trust me either. But I'm not here to gentrify. I'm here to give back. Silence. The dangerous kind, where people are deciding whether you're a liar or a fool. Then, hands shot up. Dorothy pointed. Yes, Marcus. A young man stood, arms crossed. Mr. Mitchell, what's affordable to a millionaire versus someone making minimum wage? Fair question. Sharp question. Units will be priced based on area median income, adjusted for household size. We're working directly with the Housing Authority to ensure accessibility. More hands. An elderly woman, barely 5 feet tall but radiating authority. What about current businesses? The bodega. The laundromat. They've been here 40 years. We're offering lease protections and relocation assistance. No one gets pushed out. Another voice from the middle, female, clear, devastating. How do we know you'll keep these promises? Developers always gentrify us out. Isaiah turned toward the voice. And froze. A black woman. Early 30s. Professional attire, blazer, slacks, nothing expensive but worn with dignity. Natural hair. Notepad in hand. Standing with the posture of someone who'd fought too many losing battles to trust easy wins. Her voice. Something about her voice made his heart stop. She continued, unaware of the earthquake happening inside him. I grew up in this neighborhood. I've seen promises broken. Beautiful presentations. Handshakes. Then, nothing. So how do we know you're different? Their eyes met. Isaiah's world tilted. 22 years collapsed into this single moment. The eyes. The same eyes. Older, wearier, but the same, the eyes that had looked at a starving boy with sadness instead of fear. It couldn't be. She kept talking, professional, powerful. I'm a social worker at this center. I see homeless youth every day. Foster kids aging out with nowhere to go. Your buildings mean nothing if our most vulnerable are displaced. Isaiah stared. His hands gripped the table to keep from falling. 22 years. 5 years of active searching. 3 investigators. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And she was here. In this room. 60 feet away. He found his voice, barely. You're right to be skeptical. His brain screamed at him, say something. Ask. Confirm. May I ask your name? The woman looked confused by the question, why did it matter? But she answered. Victoria Hayes. The room tilted. Isaiah gripped the table harder. His knuckles went white. Victoria Hayes. After 5 years of searching. After buying 12 buildings. After exhausting every lead. After morning staring at half a ribbon. She was here. Dorothy's voice cut through his shock. Mr. Mitchell? You okay? Isaiah blinked. The room came back into focus. 50 people staring at him, worried, confused. Yes. His voice sounded distant. Victoria Hayes, you said. Victoria's expression shifted, suspicion now, mixed with concern. Yes. Why? Isaiah's heart hammered. Not here. Not in front of 50 people. But his mouth moved without permission, driven by 22 years of longing. Did you go to Lincoln Elementary? About 22 years ago? Victoria went still. The notepad in her hand wavered. Her eyes narrowed. How could he possibly know that? Yes. How did you know? Isaiah's hands trembled. Every instinct screamed to wait, do this privately. But he couldn't stop. 22 years of dammed-up emotion was flooding out. Do you remember? His voice cracked. Do you remember feeding a boy through the fence? A white boy. 10 years old. Every day for 6 months. The notepad slipped from Victoria's fingers. It hit the floor with a sound like a gunshot in the sudden silence. 50 people vanished. The room disappeared. Time stopped. Victoria's hand went to her chest, to a locket hanging there, barely visible under her blouse. Her lips parted. Isaiah? The name was a whisper. A prayer. A question that held 2 decades. Isaiah nodded. Tears burned his eyes, he didn't try to hide them. Victoria. She shook her head, disbelief and shock warring on her face. Isaiah Mitchell. It's me. His voice broke. I came back. The room erupted. People talking over each other. What's happening? Who's Isaiah? They know each other? This is wild. Dorothy stood, trying to restore order, but even she was stunned. Everyone, let's take a 15-minute break. People filed out slowly, unwilling to miss anything, whispering, staring. Some pulled out phones, this would be on social media in minutes. But Isaiah only saw Victoria. And Victoria only saw him. 22 years collapsed. The successful CEO disappeared. The confident social worker vanished. They were children again, 9 and 10, separated by a fence and united by compassion. Finally, the room emptied. Just them. They walked toward each other slowly, like people approaching a mirage, terrified it would disappear. They met in the middle of the room. Isaiah. Victoria's voice broke on his name. You're alive. I told you I'd come back when I was rich. Victoria's hand covered her mouth. Tears spilled over, running down her face unchecked. I thought maybe you'd forgotten. 22 years is a long time. Forget you? Isaiah's voice was fierce. Victoria, I've thought about you every single day. Every single day. He reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out his phone. Opened a photo. Showed her. The red ribbon. Her ribbon. Half a ribbon, preserved in glass. I've kept this in my desk. I look at it every morning. It's the only thing in my apartment that matters. Victoria's hand went to her locket. She opened it with shaking fingers. Inside, the other half. Faded, fragile, but there. I've worn this for 22 years, she whispered. Never took it off. They stared at each other's ribbons. Two halves of a promise. Kept. I looked for you, Isaiah said, the words rushing out. After I got adopted. After I graduated. After I made my first million. I hired investigators. I bought properties in this neighborhood, 12 buildings, all near Lincoln Elementary. I thought if you were still in Chicago, you'd be here, helping people. Victoria's eyes widened. That's why you bought here? The investigators said you were planning gentrification. I was planning to find you. Silence. Heavy. Profound. I looked for you too, Victoria said quietly. After you left. I went to the fence every day for a month, hoping you'd come back. I asked my grandmother to help me search, but we didn't have money for investigators. Didn't even have a computer back then. I'm sorry, Isaiah breathed. I'm sorry it took so long. You're here now. Victoria's voice was wonder. You kept your promise. You came back. I told you I would. They stood there, 2 feet apart, 22 years between them. You were 10 years old, Victoria said, tears streaming. You were dying. And now look at you. Isaiah looked down at himself, expensive suit, success, wealth. Then back at her. You saved my life, Victoria. That's not hyperbole. I was 2 days from death when you gave me that sandwich. You'd have done the same. No. Isaiah shook his head. Most people wouldn't. Most people didn't. Teachers walked past me. Adults crossed the street. Kids laughed. But you, 9 years old, with nothing, you gave me everything. Victoria's face crumpled. I went hungry. Every day. But it didn't matter because you were hungrier. You were a child, Isaiah said, his voice breaking. You shouldn't have had to make that choice. But I did. And I'd make it again. They sat down in the folding chairs, not across from each other, but side by side, like they used to sit separated by a fence. What happened after you left? Victoria asked. Where did you go? Downstate Illinois. The Hendersons. Good people. They gave me structure, therapy, education. I graduated high school, got a scholarship to Northwestern, studied business and real estate. He paused. I worked obsessively. Built a company. Made money. And every step, every deal, every success, I thought about you. About keeping my promise. The marriage part? Victoria asked softly. Isaiah's breath caught. She remembered. You remember that? I remember everything, Isaiah. Every single conversation. They sat in silence for a moment. What about you? Isaiah asked. What happened after I left? Victoria sighed. We moved a few years later. My grandmother got sick, cancer. We lost the house. Moved in with my aunt across town. I went to a different school, stayed in Chicago, got my degree in social work. Why social work? Victoria smiled sadly. Because of you. Because I saw what happened when a child falls through the cracks. I wanted to catch them. Isaiah's eyes burned. You're still saving people. Trying to. It's harder than giving away sandwiches. They laughed, sad, broken laughs that held too much. I have to know, Isaiah said. Why didn't you stop? 6 months. Every single day. You went hungry for 6 months. Why? Victoria looked at him, and in her eyes was the same fierce compassion he remembered from the fence. Because you needed it more. And because my grandmother taught me that the measure of a person isn't what they have, it's what they give when they have nothing. Isaiah stood abruptly, overwhelmed. He walked to the window, looking out at the neighborhood, his neighborhood now, in a way. The streets he'd bought, trying to find her. Victoria, I owe you a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. He turned, his voice raw. My life. My success. Every single thing I have exists because you kept me alive. Because you cared when no one else did. Isaiah. Let me finish. He walked back to her. I'm worth $47 million. It's all yours. Every cent. Just say the word. Victoria stood, took his hands. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? She smiled, the first real smile since the recognition. I want you to keep your promise. The real one. Not the money. The other one. Isaiah's heart stopped. What do you mean? Victoria held up her locket. You said when you were rich, you'd marry me. You're rich now. Silence. Victoria. I'm not saying today, she laughed through tears. We barely know each other as adults. But I want to know you. The real you. Not the CEO. Just Isaiah. Isaiah stared at her. 22 years. And she was asking for the one thing money couldn't buy. Time. Connection. Them. I'd like that too. Dorothy knocked on the door frame. I hate to interrupt, but people are waiting. We need to finish the meeting. Victoria and Isaiah looked at each other, then at Dorothy. Can we reschedule? Isaiah asked. I need a minute. Dorothy's stern expression softened. Take the minute. Take the night. But Mr. Mitchell, these people need answers. I'll give them answers, Isaiah promised. Better answers than before. Dorothy nodded and left. Victoria turned to Isaiah. What are you going to tell them? Isaiah pulled out his phone, opened his project files. The truth. That I'm not here to gentrify. I'm here because the girl who saved my life taught me that community matters more than profit. And if she's fighting for this neighborhood, then so am I. Victoria's eyes filled again. Isaiah. Help me, he said suddenly. Help me do this right. You know this community. You know what they need. Be my partner. Not just tonight, in everything. You want me to work with you? I want you to lead with me. Victoria Hayes, social worker, community advocate, and the woman who taught a 10-year-old boy that kindness is the most valuable currency. Victoria looked at him, really looked, and saw the boy she'd fed through the fence, now grown into a man who remembered where he came from. Okay, she whispered. Okay. 1 week later. Isaiah and Victoria sat in a coffee shop 3 blocks from the community center. Not Starbucks, a local place, worn booths and chipped mugs, where coffee cost $2 and came with conversations. Victoria held her mug with both hands. So what happens now? Isaiah pulled out a folder, thick, detailed. I want to show you something I've been working on. The real plan. Not the presentation version. He spread papers across the table. Blueprints. Financial projections. Community impact studies. The affordable housing is real. 60% of units at current rent rates, guaranteed for 10 years. No loopholes. Victoria scanned the documents, her social worker brain analyzing every clause. The job training program, Isaiah continued, will focus on construction skills, property management, and small business development. We'll hire from the neighborhood first. What about the community center? Isaiah smiled. That's where I need you. He slid over another document. I want to create the Victoria Hayes Community Resource Center. Fully funded. Expanded services, homeless youth programs, foster care support, mental health counseling, GED classes, job placement. Victoria's eyes widened. Isaiah, this is millions of dollars. 4.2 million, to be exact. You can't. I can, and I will. Isaiah's voice was firm. Victoria, you saved my life with a sandwich that cost maybe $3. I'm worth 47 million because you kept me alive. 4 million is nothing. It's a fraction of what I owe you. You don't owe me. I owe the world the version of myself you made possible. He looked at her intensely. Let me do this. Please. Victoria stared at the plans. The Victoria Hayes Community Resource Center. Her name. Her dream. Fully funded. On one condition, she said quietly. Anything. You're there. Not just your money, you. In person. Meeting with the kids. Telling your story. Showing them that falling through the cracks isn't the end. Isaiah's throat tightened. He hadn't expected that. Expected her to ask for more money, more programs. Not himself. I'm not good with kids. You were a kid who needed someone to see him. You're perfect. Silence. Okay, Isaiah whispered. Okay. 2 weeks after the reunion. The story had leaked, of course it had. 50 people at that community meeting, all with phones. By morning, local news had picked it up. By afternoon, national outlets were calling. CEO reunites with childhood hero after 22-year search. The sandwich that built a fortune. From homeless to millionaire, a story of gratitude. Isaiah's PR team begged him not to do interviews. It's too personal. Keep business and emotion separate. Victoria's colleagues warned her. Don't let him use your story for publicity. But they both knew this wasn't about publicity. This was about something bigger. They held a joint press conference at the community center. The room was packed. Reporters. Cameras. Community members. The curious and the skeptical. Isaiah stood at the podium, Victoria beside him. He looked out at the crowd, saw the red ribbon, his half, displayed in a frame on the table. 22 years ago, I was dying. Not metaphorically. Literally. 2 weeks on the streets, no food, no shelter, 10 years old. The world had decided I wasn't worth saving. Silence. Absolute silence. But a 9-year-old girl didn't get that memo. Victoria Hayes stood on the other side of a fence and made a choice. She gave me her lunch. Not once. Every single day for 6 months. He paused, fighting emotion. She went hungry so I could live. A child sacrificing for another child. That's not just kindness. That's heroism. Victoria's eyes filled. She hadn't heard him describe it this way. I made a promise that day. I told her when I was rich, I'd come back and marry her. Nervous laughter from the reporters. Isaiah smiled slightly. We were 9 and 10. We didn't understand marriage. But we understood something deeper, that when someone saves your life, you spend the rest of it trying to be worthy of that salvation. He turned to Victoria. I'm not here to announce a romantic relationship, though I'd be the luckiest man alive if that happened someday. Victoria smiled through tears. I'm here to announce a partnership. The Victoria Hayes Community Resource Center. $4.2 million in funding. Permanent. Irrevocable. Focused on the most vulnerable, homeless youth, foster kids, families in crisis. Applause started. Isaiah held up a hand. But that's just money. Money is easy. The hard part is showing up. So I'm making another promise, to this community and to Victoria. I will be here. Personally. Not just my checkbook. Me. He looked at Victoria. Because she taught me that the measure of a person isn't their wealth. It's what they give when they have nothing. Victoria stepped to the microphone. She'd never liked public speaking, but this mattered. 22 years ago, I gave away my lunch. I didn't think about it as heroism. I just thought about a hungry boy who needed help. She looked at Isaiah. My grandmother raised me to believe that we're all connected. That your hunger is my hunger. Your pain is my pain. She taught me that the world doesn't get better because of grand gestures. It gets better because of small choices, repeated daily. She pulled her locket out, the ribbon visible. I kept this ribbon for 22 years. Not because I thought Isaiah would come back. But because it reminded me of who I want to be, someone who chooses compassion over comfort. She faced the cameras. Isaiah's money will change lives. But what I hope people take from this story isn't the money. It's the choice. Every single day, we walk past fences. We see people suffering. And we choose, do we look away, or do we share our sandwich? The room was silent. I chose to share. And it changed 2 lives. Imagine what happens if we all make that choice. The next 6 months. Transformation. The Victoria Hayes Community Resource Center opened 4 months later. Renovated. Expanded. Beautiful but functional, no marble lobbies, no wasted space. Every square foot designed to serve. Programs launched. Homeless youth support, beds for 50 teens. Meals. Counseling. GED classes. Job training. Foster care advocacy, legal support. Mentorship. College prep. Family crisis intervention, rent assistance. Food security. Mental health services. Community job training, construction, coding, healthcare certifications. Victoria ran it all. Isaiah funded it. Together, they were there every week. Isaiah with the kids. The first time Isaiah walked into the youth shelter, he was terrified. 15 teenagers stared at him, suspicious, angry, broken. He saw himself in every face. "Hi," he said awkwardly. "I'm Isaiah." Silence. Victoria touched his arm. "Tell them." Isaiah took a breath. 22 years ago, I lived on the streets. I was 10. I thought I was going to die. That got attention. Heads lifted. I know what it's like. The hunger. The cold. The feeling that no one sees you, no one cares. A girl in the back, maybe 14, spoke up. You're rich now. You got out. Good for you. What's that got to do with us? Fair question. Brutal question. You're right. I got lucky. Someone saw me. Someone fed me. Someone cared. He pulled out his phone, showed them the ribbon. This woman, Victoria, saved my life. Not with a fortune. With sandwiches. With consistency. With giving a damn when no one else did. The teenagers leaned in. I can't promise you'll all become millionaires. But I can promise you this, you're seen now. You're cared for now. And we will fight like hell to make sure you don't just survive. You thrive. The 14-year-old who'd challenged him stared. Then, quietly, you really lived on the streets? 2 weeks. Worst 2 weeks of my life. How'd you survive? Victoria. And then I decided that if I survived, I'd make it mean something. Silence. Then a boy, maybe 16, can you teach me about business? Like, how you made your money? Isaiah smiled. Yeah. I can do that. Victoria and Isaiah, growing closer. They had dinner every Tuesday. Always at the coffee shop, never anywhere expensive. They talked about everything, childhood, dreams, failures, fears. Learning each other as adults. One Tuesday, 6 months after the reunion, Isaiah asked, "Do you ever regret it? Giving me your lunch? Going hungry?" Victoria didn't hesitate. Never. Not once. Why? Because loving people costs something, Isaiah. If it doesn't cost, it's not real. I could afford to be hungry. You couldn't afford to starve. Simple math. Isaiah reached across the table, took her hand. First time he'd done that. I'm falling in love with you. I need you to know that. Victoria's breath caught. Isaiah. I know it's fast. I know we're technically still getting to know each other. But Victoria, I've loved you since I was 10 years old. I've just been waiting for you to want to love me back. Victoria's tears spilled. I already do, you idiot. I've loved you for 22 years. They sat there, holding hands across a worn table in a cheap coffee shop, the two richest people in the world. 1 year later. The community thrives. The South Chicago neighborhood transformed, not through gentrification, but through investment in people. Marcus, 15, came to the center 9 months ago. Aged out of foster care. Nowhere to go. Isaiah met with him personally. What do you want to do with your life? I don't know, man. Just survive, I guess. Surviving isn't enough. What do you love? Marcus looked confused. No one had asked him that. I like fixing things. Electronics, mostly. Isaiah enrolled him in the tech training program. 3 months later, Marcus had certifications. 6 months later, a job at a repair shop. 9 months later, he was saving for college. Last Tuesday, Marcus stopped Isaiah in the center's hallway. Mr. Mitchell? Just Isaiah, man. I wanted to say, thanks. For seeing me. Isaiah's throat tightened. Someone saw me once. I'm just paying it forward. 1 year anniversary. The community center held an anniversary celebration. 500 people packed in, residents, workers, volunteers, kids from the programs. Victoria and Isaiah stood together at the front. The two halves of the ribbon, his and hers, displayed side by side in a single frame. Dorothy Carter, the community board president who'd been skeptical a year ago, spoke first. I didn't trust Isaiah Mitchell when he walked in here. Rich developer, expensive suit, big promises. I thought, here we go again. More gentrification disguised as charity. She smiled. I was wrong. This man didn't just write a check. He showed up. Every week. He sat with our kids. He listened to our elders. He proved that success doesn't mean forgetting where you came from. Applause. But the real hero is Victoria Hayes. Because 22 years ago, she made a choice. A 9-year-old girl with nothing chose to give everything. And that choice rippled across 2 decades and saved not just one life, but hundreds. The crowd stood. Ovation. Victoria stepped to the microphone, overwhelmed. I didn't save hundreds of lives. I gave away a sandwich. She looked at Isaiah. But he's right about one thing, choices ripple. Small kindnesses create waves. One sandwich became $47 million, became a community center, became 127 kids with homes. She pulled out her locket, opened it. This ribbon is falling apart. The fabric is 22 years old. But what it represents will never fade. She looked at the crowd. Every person in this room has a sandwich. Something you can give. Time. Skills. Attention. Money if you have it. But mostly just, seeing people. Choosing compassion when it costs you something. Silence. The profound kind. Isaiah made a promise when he was 10. He said he'd marry me when he was rich. She turned to him, smiling. You're rich now. So. Isaiah's eyes widened. Victoria pulled a small box from her pocket. Opened it. A simple ring. Nothing expensive. Isaiah Mitchell, will you marry me? The room exploded. Cheers. Crying. Chaos. Isaiah laughed, deep, joyful, free. You're proposing to me? You took 22 years to find me. I'm not waiting another day. Yes. Isaiah pulled her close. Yes, 1,000 times yes. They kissed. The crowd roared. Flash photography captured the moment. But Isaiah and Victoria didn't notice. They were 9 and 10 again, separated by a fence, united by something stronger than metal. Isaiah and Victoria married 6 months after the proposal. Small ceremony at the community center, of course. 500 guests, none of them wealthy, all of them family. They had 2 children now. A daughter, Grace. A son, Lincoln, named after the elementary school. They lived in South Chicago. Not the penthouse. A modest house 3 blocks from the center. Walking distance. Every morning, Isaiah unlocked his home office drawer. The ribbon was there, framed, flanked now by wedding photos and children's drawings. Every morning, the same thought, some debts can never be repaid. But you can spend a lifetime trying.